You see, life is hard, right? Hard like a block of wood, okay? So I want you to imagine you're that block of wood. What are your goals and aspirations? And I want you to get out of that piece of wood. Now you're the mushroom. Now you're the mushroom that's growing on it because it's molded, right? It has a bad mental diet, okay? What we need to be asking is, why is this mushroom spending so much time on its phone? What is the mushroom's screen time, right? I was 3 years old and I was making a cup of coffee and I went over to my mom and I said, you know, Mother, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So this is what I'm saying. The mushroom should have taken hockey from a very young age. Right. If you've been on social media long enough, then you too have been accosted by this man's green eyes and his public speaking voice, his generic motivational quotes, or maybe even his twin wife. And if you're like me, maybe even a loving family member has sent you one of his videos to motivate you. But if you've been spared by the algorithm, I'll catch you up to speed. But first, let me get sappy for a second. You guys freaking blew up my channel. I just wanted to say thank you so much for the feedback and support that I received on that video. You all have been so kind, smart, and funny in the comments, and it's the exact community that I wanted to build from my channel. So I just am so thankful that you all responded the way that you did to that video. And I know my channel is still really small, but you have seriously made my dreams come true. Like, having even 1,000 subscribers has been a huge dream of mine, and I know that this channel has only existed for a year, but I was actually on YouTube before, a few years ago, and then I stopped doing that channel. I got to about 600 subscribers, but I knew in my heart and soul that that was what I wanted to do, and it's something I always wanted to go back to and pursue long term. So to receive a response like that when I really did put my heart and soul into the content, and still do, I just can't say enough. I mean, thank you so much. I'm just ready to grow even more with you and continue to create top-notch content. Take this as a lesson that if you pursue something out of pure passion, it might take time to receive any sort of recognition for it, but if it's fulfilling to you in other ways, then it's worth it, and you never know what could happen. Just call me Jay Shetty. I'm getting all motivational over here. Ew, don't call me that. Anyway, thank you so much, and if you're new here, hit the subscribe button if you want to join this community. Now back to the video. Also, it might be a little obvious, but I do have a cold, so you're gonna have to forgive my ultra sexy, sensual voice that I have going on here. I'm not trying to seduce you, it just might be a byproduct. Okay. Jay Shetty is a motivational speaker and entrepreneur whose claim to fame is that he was a monk who was just so moved by what he learned that he had to leave his monkhood and share it with the world of social media. Also that he could become a millionaire. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I meant to say also that he could change the world, I guess. The millionaire thing just happened anyway, by accident, I guess. You've heard of The Guardian. It's a famous publication. So journalist John McDermott with The Guardian published this expose called Uncovering the Higher Truth of Jay Shetty. It was published on February 29th of this year, 2024. So I'm only a month behind, which given my history of procrastinating is pretty good. So today I wanted to go through the article with you and summarize some points, and obviously I want to hear your thoughts. I was hardcore nerding out in the comment section of my last video. I love that people were leaving such genuinely thoughtful comments, and it was so great to have a conversation because it's all about learning together. And as I say on this channel, this is topics in my unprofessional opinion. So we're here to break this down and to continue the conversation. Personally, I always got a pretty inauthentic vibe from Jay Shetty, like even from the beginning of seeing him on social media. I don't know, it just seemed like overproduced.
I think the biggest issue we're having in relationships right now is we're saying, well, I like this, why don't you like it? Relationships are saying, I love that you love that, and I love this. You go do your thing, I'll go do mine. Why do I want to force my partner to come watch a football game with me if they hate football? I don't think that that's compromise or connection. I think that's ruining relationships, quite frankly.
His story was a little bit too perfect of a formula for a spiritual modern guru, if you will. And I don't use that term guru lightly. That's, a spiritual leader. That's a role a lot of people assign to him. He just always gave me Darman vibes. And if you don't know anything about Darman, what rock have you been living under? Just kidding. If you're lucky enough to not know who he is and you're super bored, there is a treasure trove of Darman content. Just type his name into the search bar and you're set. One of the first pieces of media I saw that was exposing Jay Shetty was from Kia of the channel Kia's World. If you like my content, you will absolutely love hers. I've been watching her for a couple years. Actually, I started watching her back when I had my other channel. I'm gonna link that video up here. She mostly does live streams and actually did a live stream after this Guardian article came out, which I haven't seen yet, but I'll link that one below. I just want to shout her out because I think she's really on the forefront of exposing these social media scammers, MLMers, so on and so forth. The Coconut Culture also put out a really good video about Jay Shetty. I'll also link that one below. So let's get into this article by John McDermott from The Guardian. So it begins with a little anecdote about Bennifer. If you're not a millennial, Bennifer was Ben Affleck and J-Lo. But was Bennifer Jennifer Garner? I have to look this up. This is an important piece. This is the journalism you guys are here for, really. Bennifer. Okay, it was J-Lo and Ben Affleck during their dating and engagement from 2002 to 2004. Okay, glad we cleared that up. Jay Shetty actually presided over their nuptials in 2022, which I did not know, so pretty interesting. J-Lo's gonna come up later in the story, which is why I mentioned that. Jay Shetty grew up as a British Indian in North London. He always loved reading celebrity autobiographies, so talk about manifesting. He now has a very successful podcast called On Purpose, where he's had high-profile guests such as Michelle Obama and Kim Kardashian. Also on his resume are 2 best-selling books he's written, his role as Chief Inspiration Officer at the Calm app, his life coaching business, and his millions of followers across social media. He even has a menu item named after him at Erewhon, which is a crazy expensive grocery chain in LA. Also news to me, very interesting. I'm actually going to LA next week, so maybe I'll try it. Actually, no, I take it back. Okay, so I was shocked to read this, but Jay Shetty even made his acting debut in guess whose movie? Guess who? You'll never guess. J-Lo's.
He's still searching.
Mm-hmm.
She needs some stability after all that emotional whiplash.
Oh, it's a damn shame.
In her interesting movie called This Is Me Now. I really hope you can't hear these kids yelling outside my window. How dare they live in my neighborhood? So rude. So Shetty's origin story, as he's told it, is that while attending business school his freshman year, he attended a guest talk by a monk. His friend convinced him to go because he's like, we'll hit the bar after, and that's the only reason he went. He said he was enamored by the experience and decided to live as a monk for 3 years after graduating. But as Kia mentioned in her video, there's no logistics explained here. Like, he's never gone into detail of how he actually connected with this monk and if he was like, hey, how can I live with you? How can I practice this way of life? I'm not saying it's impossible because I definitely think it is, but it's the fact that it's explained nowhere in Shetty's books or videos or anything. So, a little sus. As it turns out, most of his spiritual education didn't even take place at an ashram outside of Mumbai, which he originally claimed. It took place in Watford, which is a town outside of northwest London. London, if you will. Crumpets. Furthermore, he was not drawn to this lifestyle because of one monk's speaking engagement, but because he grew up in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as ISKCON, more commonly known as the Hare Krishna movement. If you're from the US, if you're over the age of maybe like 40, or if you've watched Mad Men, you've probably heard of this. ISKCON has a problematic history, and I don't think that has anything to do with Jay Shetty. Personally, like, I don't think he's problematic because he was in it from childhood or anything. It just goes to show you that it makes sense why he would have separated himself from that, because he does not make any mention to ISKCON at all. Just one more thing about ISKCON. According to the article, there were allegations in the 70s and 80s of members engaged in corporal punishment, child SA, and even conspiracy to commit murder. So kind of like Christianity, but not as bad. So McDermott, the author of the Guardian article, I'll bring up his name again, so remember that. McDermott. He first profiled Shetty for Esquire magazine last year, but immediately became skeptical after attending his stage show. So I was like, okay, I love this guy. Quote, one segment involved Shetty inviting a volunteer on stage and putting her in a de facto sensory deprivation chamber to illustrate how difficult it is for people to put down their phones. The crowd then watched her fidget via a live video feed. Weird. Later, he invited a different woman on stage and had her call her estranged brother, whom she hadn't spoken to in years. It's giving Tony Robbins. When the call went to voicemail, Shetty instructed her to leave her brother a message while we all listened. The woman sitting 2 seats to my right audibly remarked, "This is mortifying." End quote. The profile never ran because Esquire didn't want to do like a full-blown investigation, but that initial probing is what led to this Guardian article. Another thing about him that the Coconut Cultures channel mentioned in their video is that him being of Indian descent, it grants him a certain mysticism and authority to Westerners, especially white folks like myself. So part of me is like, get your bag. If you can capture the attention of wealthy white folks, get their money, and possibly make them into a better person, nothing wrong with that as far as I can tell. The problem is that it becomes exploitative very quickly. And we see this with cults and other training programs alike, because people dump literally their life savings into things like Jay Shetty's coaching school, which we will get into, do not worry. Because people like Jay Shetty tell them it's the answer, when really it's just a really sophisticated sales pitch. Shetty's life coaching school charges $7,400 a term for postgraduate diploma qualifications, equivalent to a master's degree. Like, okay. To uphold accreditation, the school pays OTHM, which is a private exam certification company in the UK. The school also claimed that the regulatory board called Ofqual approves their qualification, but Ofqual denied any connection to Jay Shetty's school. And the explanation is that Ofqual approves OTHM, the accreditation board, or I don't know if you call it a board, but you get what I'm saying. So that's clearly deceptive. Ofqual even denied any connection to the school, and they told McDermott that they would contact the school and request being removed from the website. When the article was published, the website was still stating that progression arrangements for a top-up MBA have been confirmed by the University of Chichester, a claim which the university has vehemently denied. Big surprise there. So things are getting a little sticky. We're getting a little shady here. Then the article gets into the whole monkhood situation. So Shetty has given conflicting dates as far as when he first encountered Gauranga Das, which is the name of the monk he saw when he was in college. He said a few different dates, but it was confirmed that talk took place in 2007. However, not only was Shetty in ISKCON long before 2007 and had all of this knowledge based in Hinduism about, modern spiritualism, if you will. Pop psychology is another phrase I see used a lot around Shetty. But also, according to McDermott's journalism, Shetty's spiritual epiphany actually happened in the summer of 2006, which was during a trip to France for ISKCON Pandavasena, which is the youth group for ISKCON. There's even a 2006 video of Shetty with Gauranga Das, the monk that Shetty claimed to have met for the first time at that talk, which was confirmed to take place in 2007. Gotcha!
Oh God, not the gotcha dancers!
It's worth noting that Shetty has made absolutely no reference, and I said this a little bit before, but he has made no reference to his childhood in the faith or to this trip to France where he had the spiritual epiphany. Another interesting thing is Shetty calls himself a Vedic monk. So the Vedas are a collection of ancient Sanskrit writings. So there's kind of no such thing as a Vedic monk. Like, he might as well be a Hindu monk, right? It's like saying, oh, I'm not a Christian monk, I'm a biblical monk. It's a little weird. And again, it takes advantage of the fact that a lot of Westerners don't have that knowledge of the Vedas. And so to somebody on the street, hearing Vedic monk, even for me who has like some knowledge of Hinduism, I would be like, oh, I just didn't know that was a thing. By the way, if you are interested in learning about Hinduism-based spirituality, this book is a good place to start. It's Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. Like Shetty claims, Yogananda also brought a lot of the practices and teachings of Hinduism to the Western world. So it's a good read. I would recommend it. So it's speculated that Shetty took this route to distance himself, like I said, from the historical problems of ISKCON, the Hare Krishna movement. So as far as actually being a monk, Shetty claims that he was a monk from 2010 to 2013, living in a Hindu ashram, like I said, in India. However, he only periodically visited India, spending the majority of his time, like I said, in this town outside of London. He was at Bhaktivedanta Manor, which is, quote, a sprawling Tudor estate in Watford. Oh, I'm sorry. A sprawling Tudor estate in Watford, outside of London. Shetty's own blog from this time also contradicts this claim. So in his blogs, he described Bhaktivedanta Manor as his primary residence. He also spent this time making YouTube videos in London. Okay, one ISKCON devotee who was a monk in London at the same time as Shetty even said that he saw him in sweatpants more than robes. I'm sorry, but I love articles like this because random ass people from the past just come out of the woodwork. So the real lesson is to be nice to everyone. And that's a perfect segue to tell you about my coaching program, the Be Nice Agenda. Tuition begins at $7,400. The absolute best part of this section of the article, though, is that Shetty claimed to have had difficulty re-assimilating into society, stating that it was, quote, the hardest part of his life. I feel like I experienced depression for the first time. I had forgotten how to do small talk. I didn't know who the Prime Minister was. I didn't know who won the World Cup. I didn't even know how to have a conversation that wasn't deep and meaningful. Can we talk about the political and economic state of the world? And then McDermott adds this bit to the end of that quote. He didn't mention he'd spent a lot of that time a few miles from the TV studio, blogging and making videos. Oh! In 2016, Shetty left his lucrative consultant job to start making videos as an independent media personality. In his first video, he talked about how the Bhagavad Gita can help people with their New Year's resolutions, with a goal to connect people to Krishna consciousness online. So, all well and good. However, quote, one ISKCON member says Shetty is to the organization what Tom Cruise is to Scientology, a magnetic, media-friendly ambassador for an otherwise controversial religious institution. His sheer fame serves as a recruitment tool. So people at ISKCON were working for him and his media conglomerate for free at this time, propping him up as a representative for ISKCON, and he left them in the dust. Shetty worked for the Huffington Post for a bit before becoming solo again. In 2019, Nicole Arbor put out a video called Jay Shetty is full of shit. Kia mentioned this video as well. It seems like the first piece of media really calling Shetty out that went kind of viral. Or not kind of, it was super viral. He ironically took a page out of Rachel Hollis's book and was plagiarizing. Or did Rachel Hollis take a page out of his book? Plagiarception. He was plagiarizing quotes for social media content non-stop, and not just stating quotes like verbally in his videos, but also on his social media, like saying a super famous quote and just not putting the person's name who said it. Very weird. Thankfully, after Arbor's video, Shetty's team went into full damage control. Shetty had all of his posts changed to add attributions and deleted more than 100 posts. He even hired a crisis PR firm. So at least he apparently doesn't plagiarize anymore, so that's good news, I guess. You get 1 point, Shetty. 1 point. Because we learn from our mistakes, damn it. So in 2018, yes, I'm backtracking a little bit, Shetty moved to LA and started cozying up to celebrities. He started making a name for himself in the pseudo-spiritual... Oh. I'm so sorry, my mistake. The spiritual worlds. He launched the Jay Shetty Certification School in 2020 to train other life coaches. McDermott did a discovery call with the school to get just a little more info, and it came off a bit MLM-y, and I'm really glad that McDermott called this out in his call. I'm telling you, you have to just read the whole article, linked below, like I said. What I mean by that is the person he was talking to on the phone also completed the certification program. However, they were working for the certification program on a commission basis to sign up new students. It's looking like ancient Egypt in here. I'm gonna make a video in the future about how life coaching can often become very MLM-y, because I've worked with a life coach before and it literally changed my life for the better. It was an amazing experience. I have worked with 2 different life coaches, but weirdly enough, I don't like recommending it to most people, unless I know them personally, because so many of them get wrapped up in this realm of, okay, become a coach, then you go to this coaching school to learn how to create other coaches. Now you're a coach for other coaches. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not a good look, because why are you trying to teach more and more people to do exactly what you supposedly do? You know, but that's for another day, darling. That's for another day. According to the Jay Shetty Certification School, they have accredited more than 1,100 students in just 3 years. So you want to guess how much revenue that is? More than 7 mil, which would almost cover the house that Shetty and his wife bought in the Hollywood Hills for $8.4 million. If that's not monkhood, I don't know what is. And that's essentially the end of the article. Here's the thing. I think motivational things are great. I'm definitely the type of person who's like, take what you need and leave the rest. But when you start to bring potentially vulnerable people into the mix, you inherently take on a responsibility, I think. And it's not like, oh, these poor stupid people don't know what they're talking about. Like, no. I live with mental illness, and at one of the darkest points of my life, did I pay a psychic $200 to pray over a love karma candle for me? Yes, I did. Was I already in credit card debt? Yes, I was. Did it work? I actually low-key think it did. So it's up to you if you want to call that a scam or not. But again, I just think it's about like doing what works for you. My best friend is not a practicing life coach, but she did gain her certification, and I actually worked with her. And she talked a lot about how in her specific program, it was really important for them as coaches to be discerning in choosing their students. So on a discovery call, one of the things that you have to figure out is if a person would be a better fit for therapy. The first time I sought out life coaching, I was also in therapy, so it was a good thing to couple with that. But again, with a program like Shetty's, it comes down to sales. With all of his social media platforms, it's ironic that Shetty talks about how, oh, I went to business school and I forewent all of that. All of it. I gave it all up to become a monk. And it's like, first of all, that didn't happen. And second of all, I think a lot of those things that he's preaching become null when it's very clear that he's running a giant, very successful media conglomerate. Can you tell I've been rewatching Parks and Rec? I personally think he could have become very successful without his fake story, because he clearly has a lot of business savvy. But as someone with a marketing background and an MBA, everybody loves to talk about the power of storytelling because it clearly makes a difference. So I feel like he strategized. I think he's very smart. I think he was like, this is my story and I'm sticking to it, literally. I feel like he just decided this is a powerful story and I'm going to ride this into the sunset. And I love that journalists like McDermott and YouTubers like Kia and several others are like, we're not doing that anymore. Okay, like, no, because it's exploitative, like I said. I'm gonna cut myself off there, but thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up, give me a subscribe. Thank you so much for making my dreams come true. I think I'm at like 1,600 subscribers right now, which is fucking crazy. And please, for the love of God, comment. Let's talk about this. I cannot wait to hear what you guys think about this, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.